and Leader Pelosi and Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer. One of those conservatives is with me now, syndicated talk show host Deace, and also with me, stand-in political commentator Ben Ferguson, who has hosted the Ben Ferguson Show. So, gentlemen, welcome. And Steve, you first. The president is claiming no such deal was made. He tweeted this morning that the wall is already under construction. You're seeing some of the tweets on your screen. My question to you, deal, no deal, semi-deal, definitely no deal, not amnesty. Which is it?
Yes, Brooke, yes.
The answer is yes.
The answer is whatever Mr. Trump's ego thinks it needs to be today, tomorrow, whatever he needs to do to get positive media headlines, to get somebody to adore him, to love him. It's, his new BFFs, Chuck and Nancy. I would urge them, far be it for them to take advice from me, Brooke, but I would urge them after the last 2 years of what we on the right have seen, tread very carefully with Donald Trump. As Confucius once said, man who lay down with dogs, wake up with fleas.
Quoting Confucius within the first minute of coming on my show. Ben Ferguson, I see that big old grin. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, look, let's be clear of what Donald Trump's having to deal with. First off, this is an issue that even conservatives, 67% of conservatives say that they do think that those that were brought here as children should have some pathway to citizenship. Let's also be clear. The same group of conservatives demand a wall and voted for Donald Trump for that wall. So the president's got an issue here where he can reach across the aisle on DACA in general, but he has to produce on the wall. Otherwise, he's going to be in a significant amount of trouble with the base. I also think the president actually here is being pretty smart to let it be known clearly to Mitch McConnell and to the majority leader, Paul Ryan, that I'm not going to sit around for another 6 months and get nothing done. The Republican leadership have been terrible to deal with, so why not have dinner with Nancy and see if there's anything that you might be able to agree on that also your base agrees on? And a lot of conservatives have compassion for children that were brought here at a young age who have grown up in this country.
Steve, Ben made the point for me. I mean, can you blame the guy for wanting to work with Democrats? I mean, he hasn't been getting anything done with his own party.
I don't blame a guy that for 60 years prior to 2011 spent his entire life as a Democrat, supporting Democrat causes, being a product of the Democrat media, sitting there in Democratic New York City. I mean, water eventually, Brooke, returns to its own level. So I'm not shocked by this. A wise man once said in a best-selling book, the dog returns to its own vomit. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. He's much more at home with the people like this. When I was fighting for things like rule of law and border security, Trump was cutting checks to people like Pelosi, Schumer, and Al Sharpton. So, eventually what Trump is proving is you can go home again.
Let me say this. So there's also another very wise man by the name of Ronald Reagan who once said, you do a deal with people that agree with you on certain issues, and sometimes that might be people that aren't necessarily with you on election day. That was Ronald Reagan who talked about bipartisanship. When you have 67% of conservatives who say that they have no problem with having something done on DACA as long as border security comes with it, you're not laying down with a dog getting fleas, Steve. I mean, this is, take Donald Trump's name out of it for a second. This is an issue that a lot of conservatives have compassion on and do want there to be a final say-so on this instead of it being open-ended and having this, let's kick the can down the road. A lot of people that voted for Donald Trump voted for him because they thought, finally, this is someone who can get something done. If you can't get it done with the Republicans who have just as many fleas.
They didn't vote for him to get something done, Ben. They voted for him to get what they wanted done. Here's what they want done, Ben. Here's what they want done. All right, there is a prominent political commentator who pointed out last week 91% of DACA recipients are either in a university or have a full-time job making $41,000 a year. What they would like to know is where's the compassion for them? Why don't they have job? How many Americans watching right now would like to have a job making $41,000 a year? How many of them would like to have their children in those slots in those universities that they're subsidizing? When he said America first, when he said he was going to put their values first, the people that have watched their jobs go overseas, or people like my own stepdad who used to not even step on a union site for less than $20 an hour, and then watched his jobs go to illegals and took early retirement instead from his union. Those people, they thought he meant he was going to put them first. Not, I got to get something done first. Not the swamp first. It's not getting stuff done. It's getting what they wanted done. They didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. They voted for Donald Trump. They're getting Hillary Clinton's agenda.
Steve, you have to listen to a lot of conservatives, and I respectfully disagree with you on this one. If you're a child and you were brought here and it was no choice of your own, and you've been here for 10, 12, 15, 18
You're making
years,
the wrong argument, Ben. That's not what, Ben, where's the compassion for the Americans who don't have their jobs, Ben? No, Ben, we can both play this game of, we can both play the feckless human emotion game.
I heard you
What about the Americans that don't have their jobs, Ben? I mean, we can both play these examples.
Hang on, Steve.
That's a liberal
No,
talking
let me
point, Ben.
finish.
Ben, you should be better than that. You're a conservative talking talk show host.
Steve,
using the
relax.
exact same
Chill out. This is not your
tactics we get
show.
from the other side.
Steve, this
Ben.
is not your
Steve,
show, so have a
chill out,
conversation.
Steve. That's
You
a
can say
liberal
this for
tactic,
3
Ben.
hours.
You are a
No,
conservative
it's not.
talk show
Listen to
host,
what
right,
I'm
Ben?
saying.
That's the rumor.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Steve, let me talk.
I'm going to
Please.
finish my point. When you're a child and you are brought here from multiple countries, not just Mexico, and you're 6 months old and you grow up in America and you go through DACA and you come forward and you say that I am here, I want to play by the rules, my parents brought me here, I had nothing to do with this. There is nothing wrong with saying to those individuals, you know what? We're going to be compassionate towards you and have a pathway towards you being able to stay in this country with a lot of rules that go along with it. Now, you're trying to say that I think their parents should be punished. I want to make that very clear. I'm not in favor of DACA, Steve, without there being a secure border at the same time, because otherwise this will never end, and we'll be doing DACA 2.0 and 3.0 and 4.0. But you can't tell me that you honestly, I don't think you believe in your heart that a 6-month-old child who's now 18 years old, who has lived in this country his entire life, the average age of someone that enrolled in DACA was 6.5 years old, Steve. Where are you going to send them back to? Venezuela, Argentina, South Africa, Mexico? Are you going to send them back?
This is a false argument. This whole thing's a false.
It's not a false argument. It's reality.
It's not about sending them back.
Hey,
where's the compassion for the parents who don't have those jobs, Ben? What would you say to the parents who don't have those jobs and their jobs were given to people here illegally? Where's the compassion for them? What would you say to them?
I have
people watching right now
both,
that would like to make $41,000 a year.
What
would you say to them?
First. I always side with children first, Steve.
Well, they would like $41,000 a year to pay for their children, Ben. What about American children who don't have
gentlemen, I feel the passion from both of your sides.
What would you say to them, Ben?
I appreciate both of you. We've got to go. It was a hearty discussion on DACA, and the other piece of the conversation is also just political strategy shifts coming out of the White House and this willingness to work with Democrats. It seems so far a number of Republicans would be in favor of helping out these 800,000. But, you know, Steve, I hear you as well. Steve, Deace, and Ben Ferguson, thank you both very much. It was a healthy one today.